I hate that I have to say this, but I need to make this clear for the sake of this video. A lot of my screaming and a lot of my anger is exaggerated for comedic purposes. I am a voice actor. Showing off emotions I'm not really feeling is something that I have to do to voice act, including the feeling of anger. If at any point I sound like I am attacking an animator, that is not the case. I am very sorry if I sound like I'm doing that. I am very purposefully over-exaggerating my anger because it's funnier to more people, those people being my fans. If you have a problem with me over-exaggerating my feelings and not talking like a blank wad of tofu for the sake of entertaining the people that have stuck with me all this time, then that is your problem. I want to make my fans happy and they like it when I emote and I do the funny thing. This is me trying to do the funny thing. In the comments, I will have the full list with a more rational, simpler, more concise explanation for why they are there without my trademark screaming and anger and stuff. Okay? I'm glad that's clear. None of these are the faults of the animators. There are definitely some flaws they have done, however, I am more criticizing the episodes they have made, the animations they have produced, and of course the general schedule of can't call it that anymore, of Rooster Teeth that has caused them to produce the animations that they have. It is very possible any of these could be the result of time crunch, could possibly be the result of poor management, or, even worse, could be the result of their own personal lives getting in the way of them producing quality work. This is very common. I have had to deal with that a lot. As someone who has animated myself, I am obviously very well aware of the fact that a lot of factors can go in to make an animation worse than you intended. I do not want to criticize the animators as people. They are all very clearly talented and have a lot of ability to do something great. This is simply an over-exaggeration of my anger towards things, and I wish I didn't have to explain this, but unfortunately I do, adding on another 2-3 minutes of me rambling before I can actually get into the list and the video. Okay? I'm sorry if you think I'm being angry or harsh. I am not. Well, here we are, Season 5 of DBX, and I know for 1 Minute Melee I listed my favourites as well as my least favourites, but for DBX, I don't know, I couldn't find 10 DBX that I really loved. I liked Bruce Lee vs. The World, Predator vs. Prophet was decent, Aegis vs. Noel was good, I pronounced Aegis wrong, fuck off, and Cloud vs. Guts was decent. Oh, and Benny vs. Cuphead was better than it had any right to be. And if we're talking about 1 Minute Melee, if I were to put Dante vs. Ragnar on this list, my current least favourite 1 Minute Melee, it'd rank at about number 16. Yeah. But let's talk about bad episodes. Like with 1 Minute Melee, the winners aren't important because it's not research, and I'm just looking for it to be generally good. Watch the 1 Minute Melee video to understand my criteria. Just kidding, I'm not going to do that. Simply put, it needs to be accurate to the characters, it needs to be entertaining, it just needs to be fun and well animated and good. The only thing that really, the most important thing is that it needs to be good, well animated, the characters need to be accurately portrayed. So let's go. 15. Sakura vs. Rin isn't what I'd call a bad episode, but what I'd call one with a giant fucking flaw. The sound design. Pretty much nothing in this fight has any real impact. Oh, and the ending. The ending was shit. But you know what? Considering when this battle came out and the 3D battles that were around it, this was a breath of fresh air amongst the fog of bad 3DBX episodes. So it has that. Also, I like Rin, so that's good. 14. Janky animation sucks. Daredevil vs. Kenshi doesn't suck per se, but it is janky. Like, the start is janky, the end is janky, the in-between's janky. The choreography isn't awful, but there's something unsettling to me about how Kenshi's headbands don't move at all. And the ending looks bad. This battle looks bad. But, you know what, it's a 3D DBX, and it's an okay one, which pretty much makes it 10 out of 10. Number Jason. Frieza vs. Mewtwo, why are you cursed? I put the first 1 Minute Melee on my worst list, and unfortunately Frieza vs. Mewtwo from the newest DBX season kinda has to go here, because it's just so uninspired. Oh, look, they did the it's super effective thing. Oh, yay! Oh, look, Frieza goes golden for some reason. Remember how pissed he was in the Broly film because he had to use it? I guess DBX didn't. Oh, and after he throws his Destructo discs, Mewtwo I guess just assumes their vision is based on movement, because he pulls a Dante and disconnects his controller for long enough that Frieza's energy pizzas undo him. Number 12. Ninjas are cool. Everybody knows this. Mana vs. Ison? awesome. Naruto vs Ichigo, pretty decent. SBO vs Greninja, slow. This episode is one of the slowest DBX battles. It feels like nothing happens. Greninja takes roughly 9 hours to fire off a water shuriken near the start, then SBO follows the recent trend of disconnecting his controller to allow Greninja to wombo combo his ass. He got off a whole 6 hits before he got shurikened. Then he takes fucking forever to pull water out of his tits, allowing Greninja to pelt him. Then the Smash Ball comes out, and despite the fact that SBO first showed up because of that ball, given how he stares gormlessly at it, he continues to just blindly stare, allowing Greninja to take it with pretty much no effort. SBO just lets himself loose here. None of this is good, SBO. That's why it's called DBX. Number 11. I love Nier Automata, and I also quite like Final Fantasy 15. So naturally, I was excited for 2B versus Noctis, even though I'm fairly certain Noctis stomps because, I thought, hey, this is probably going to be a fun, fast-paced battle. It was not. If you want to know the main issue with this fight, just know that I'm speeding up the footage to make it look better. Otherwise, this fight is painfully slow in pace and choreography. And I'm fairly certain Noctis is faster than this. I've played and finished Final Fantasy 15, and unless I'm just a superhuman, I didn't play it this fucking slowly. The other big issue is that 2B pretty much never dodges, even though that's pretty much a thing. I saw someone say in the comments, well, you can't expect them to add all the abilities. That's true, I don't expect all pod programs or even her self-destruct, but what I do expect is one of the core aspects of 2B's entire fighting style. Number 10. If you've never played Mega Man or Bomberman but watched the DBX between them, you'd probably leave thinking Mega Man is a wimp who runs away from everything and has an overpowered super crash bomber and also gives no fucks about Rush. You'd also probably come out thinking that Bomberman is some super evil devious bastard monster cliche Saturday morning villain and that he's really easy to make squeal. Also that one of his powers is to summon giant blocks to drop on people, which I don't think he can do that. I can't be totally sure, I didn't play the games. What I can be sure on though is that this is a piss poor presentation of their perpetually positive personalities. Number no. Remember how I had issues with 2B versus Noctis not using one of 2B's main things? Well, Ezio versus the prince formerly known as the Prince of Persia does that too, but it's arguably worse. Ezio's main thing is his stealth and his hidden blades. He uses the hidden blades once, which, okay, but he doesn't even attempt the stealth once he gets kicked into the hay, and the prince's whole thing is time manipulation, which he doesn't use once. Now this would be fine, considering this model I'm fairly certain is of the reboot prince, who I'm also fairly certain doesn't have time powers, but in the researched part of this non-researched battle, they clearly state he can manipulate time. So while this model is of reboot prince, it's to be assumed that the version of the prince they're using in the fight is the time manipulating one. Too bad he doesn't use any of those incredibly useful powers. Likewise, despite him having an Apple of Eden in the episode, Ezio doesn't use it. Also, Ezio's a smart guy. Would he really just hold an Apple of Eden that far out for someone to take it? Maybe he did that one of the games, but that'd be stupid there, and it's stupid here. But the biggest issue with this battle is, it's so janky. Everything is stiff and nothing moves fluidly. Just look at Ezio's jump here. That's not to say it's awful necessarily, it's only number 9, but it's just not great. I know a lot of people hate Ringmaster, but okay, this is the lowest ranking Season 4 episode, I guess now's the time to talk about him. He's okay, kinda. I mean, he gets annoying without a straight man like Wiz to balance him out, but he's alright. But this episode shows one of the biggest flaws of having him. The idea of dispensing a short research segment about the fighters so that people who don't know anything about them get a handle is not a bad idea. But the problem is when you display that you know these characters have certain powers and then they just don't use them. Makes you look kind of dense there. Hey look, it's an episode that's really short and ends abruptly and it's disappointing. I hope this is the only one on the list. Kratos vs Dante is what I call a... Like, yeah, there's some good action, granted, but that ending is absolutely rubbish. At least with Rin vs Sakura, Sakura enters her, I don't know what it's called, ink tattoos mode, and so her abruptly winning at least makes some sense. But Dante just re-equips a weapon that he already used at the start, with Kratos being the one who pulls out the big gun, and Dante wins? I mean, at least they could have had Dante go Devil Trigger. Dante just uses his punchies to splatter Kratos abruptly. Was there even an episode here? Was I just hallucinating? Is there even a DBX? Number 7. Unpopular opinion, I actually really like Thor vs 100 Pikachus. While it's a stomp, and really silly. That's the thing. It's silly, it's over the top, it's just fun. Thor uses a lot of different methods to kill the Pikachus, and it's very clearly a joke. It's explicitly a joke. Doesn't pretend to be anything else, and is meant to be relaxing, stupid fun. I understand if you don't like it, if you don't like seeing Pikachus getting slaughtered, that's very understandable, and I get it. Like, seeing animals get hurt is not a good thing, but these are fictional sprites of fictional characters getting killed by a fictional character based on a fictional mythological character of the past. So I'm okay with it. Wolverine vs. 100 Barakas, however, kinda didn't. And when you can't even get the name right, seriously, why isn't it 100 Takatans, then what hope do you even have? Well, let's be fair, Alucard vs. Dimitri got the name wrong, but it was still good. So this battle could also be... No, it sucks. It's the same thing 100 times. Wolverine swings his arms like a monkey and all the Barakas die the exact same way. Seriously, they all just fall in half. It's really boring because there's no variety. The aesthetic is very dark, grungy, and bland, which makes it kind of boring to look at, while Thor vs. Pikachu had a really nice landscape to it. And I'm honestly just sad they didn't just leave it at Thor vs. Pikachu's. Number 6. Saitama vs. Kenshiro. Right, so people don't like seeing Saitama lose. Even when I use a joke character like Chuck fucking Norris, people are like, duh, no, Saitama should win. And no. Fuck off. Now, personally, I think it's fine to have Saitama lose, because saying he's infinite in strength is a no-limit fallacy, you dumb fucks. I'm surprised Cartoon Fight Club has said this about 1,000,000 times and still has failed to get the message across. Regardless, let's look at Saitama vs. Kenshiro. Okay, maybe let's not look at it, because I like you. So I'm going to spare you from having to look at it. But let's talk about it while looking at this lovely black screen a little bit longer. So what happens in this episode is Kenshiro attacks Saitama, fails to kill him at the start, then Genos fights, Kenshiro obliterates Genos, and then Saitama punches him to death and explodes from the Hokuto Shinken stuff. Seems all good. Now let's see what's wrong. Number 1. Kenshiro looks nothing like Kenshiro. First off, his shirt is off before the fight even starts. Secondly, he's missing his iconic fucking scars. Thirdly, that hair is completely wrong. Fourthly, his belt and armband are the wrong color. And fifthly, his pants are the wrong color. 2. Saitama looks high throughout the entire fight. He looks really fucking drugged up, and that's not good. Saitama usually looks bored, not high off his kite. Wait. 3. Saitama dodges a lot more in this fight than he normally would. While it's not unreasonable to assume Saitama would dodge some attacks, the idea that he dodged all of but one of them is a bit silly. 4. The animation's janky as fuck. It literally looks like a bunch of keyframes with almost no in-betweens. 5. Right here, Kenshiro isn't moving at all as Genos punches him a bunch and clips through his torso. 6. Kenshiro somehow uses Hokuto Shinken on a machine. Now okay, Genos is a cyborg, but his arms, they're not organic at all. He loses them all the time. And just somehow a martial art that targets the pressure points on human beings worked on the non-existent pressure points of a mechanical arm. 7. Genos shoves Kenshiro away in that direction, flying away from him, but when they land, Genos somehow is behind him instead of in front of him. Number 8. Considering how often Genos loses his arms and he continues fighting, I find it insulting that Genos would stop fighting just because his one arm exploded a little bit. Number 9. There's no transition between Saitama going into the death punch pose and then throwing the punch, even though the transition is the whole reason it's been given its name. Number 10, oh, it's fucking awful looking. Like, regardless of how accurate the models are or how smooth the animation is, doesn't matter how many in-betweens you add, the actual software itself makes everything look like crap. When I can have a top 10 reasons it sucks list on a top 15 list, you get why it's here. Number 5, Sasuke vs. Kiluya is really good. Sasuke vs. Hiei is an insult. Now, I hate Sasuke. And I don't have much of a connection to Hiei. I watched some Yu Yu. He's probably my favorite character from Yu Yu, but I'm not even one season in. Now, yeah, I get this is a joke. I'd be a hypocrite to say it sucks because it's a joke. And I think Akuma vs. Iron Fist is a good example of that. And like, for the first minute, it's good. I think their reason for fighting is pretty funny, and the animation isn't that bad. They pretty much never fight again after the first minute, though, and the rabbit wins. And if you're gonna do that, take it all the way. Have the rabbit actually kick their ass. That'd be funny, not just Hiei slams Sasuke and then they die. Woo! Number 4. Holy shit, Dante vs. Bayonetta was amazing. Too bad the other 2 Dante fights are bollocks. At least Virgil got 3 good fights. And Trish? What the hell is this? Let's do another list of reasons that this is absolute trash. Number 1, building breaking animation that's supposed to lead into an episode is fucking bollocks. There's no way, it doesn't look like it connects to the ground at all, and then it vanishes. 2, John's hair's horrible. Number 3, the animation looks like crap. It's like Pokemon vs Digimon if it was animated by Stevie Wonder. Number 4, okay, Trish's hair is also horrible. Number 5, Trish's lightning attack kick looks fucking weak, and it sounds weak too. Number 6, Trish barely moves her body when she sword swings. It's like all arm movement. 7, Trish throws her sword. Then it vanishes, it appears for 2 frames here, and then vanishes again. Number 8, there's Trish aiming her guns, resembling something equivalent to a statue. Number 9, so Trish slams Spider on John, then it teleports to her back. 10, this attack moves at about like a frame per second, and it kind of looks like it was green screened in during post. Number 11, Trish's death is so poorly animated it's astounding. 12, somehow when John blows her body to bits it's even worse.
Whoa! What a great way to kick off DBX!
No, it's not, Chad. No, it's not. Number 3, Ruby vs. Ragnar literally starts with a trailer for Volume 6. Then Ragnar proceeds to get off 2 whole combos as Ruby completely shitstops him. Yeah. Now first off, we all know that Ragnar would stomp the gods of Ruby with ease, so Ruby herself has no chance. Even cross-tag battle, Ruby would be destroyed, because even if their stats are equal in that game, Ragnar still has better abilities, more skill, and has taken on people stronger than him and won many times in the past. That's not important though. The animation and music aren't either, because they're actually fairly good. I mean, they played Red Like Roses Part 2, that song's fucking awesome. But why does Ragnar get shit-stomped? He gets 2 combos that barely phase Ruby, while almost all of Ruby's attacks make Ragnar go, ooh, oh, oh. In fact, 90% of the sounds coming from this battle are Ragnar going, ooh, ah, ooh, in pain. And the last 10% is him being taunted. It's so clear this was done purely for an advertisement, and I find that kind of insulting. Like, it seems so much like Ruby barely tried while Ragnar gave this his all and still got destroyed. I guess you could take this as a metaphor for Team Ruby versus the Aesops. I mean, Ruby can't even use her Silver Eyes because there aren't any fucking Grim around. And Silver Eyes don't work on normal fucking people. And like, Ruby fucking matches a Black Onslaught from Ragnar, but doesn't use her own astral finish against him. And just falls on him to win. Seriously, this is just disingenuous, monetized crap. And yes, this is far, far worse than Dante vs. Ragnar. Because that battle was bad because it was incompetently done, or maybe even just a bit lazy. This was the result of some assholes wanting to appease their bosses, advertise a show, and get money. Seriously, every attack from Ragnar is like, effort noises, while Ruby laughs at him. As a fan of Ragnar, I find this insulting. As a fan of DBX, I find this insulting. As a Ruby fan, I find that insulting. At least Yang vs. Tifa was a good fight. I disagree with Yang winning, but it was a really well done animation. Tifa got in a few meaty hits, even made Yang bleed. It looked like it was a fairly even battle. Ragnar just got destroyed. I've actually had people deadass tell me my 1-second punch out between them was a better fight. Thanks, by the way. Number 2. Why did they give the person who made Kenshiro vs. Saitama a second fight? Spider-Man vs. Mikasa is horse shit. Number 1, the arena looks like crap. You know what? Everything looks like crap. Number 2, the animation for Spider-Man's web slinging looks dog shit. Number 3, like Saitama Kenshiro, there's almost no in-between frames here. They move from one pose suddenly to the next between frames. Number 4, Mikasa doesn't even shoot stuff out of her... I forgot what they're called. Number 5, they just look so wrong from this angle. They look so wrong from every angle. Number 6, this is just so bad. Number 7, this death is dumb. So Mikasa cuts some web, then charges at the camera, then Spider-Man dies because he's too dumb to dodge? Did his controller disconnect too? Number 8, this... With the way Spider-Man acts and does things, I wouldn't be shocked if the animator legitimately didn't know who Spider-Man was, and just luckily guessed that he can shoot webs. Seriously, I can just show you the animation and you'd understand why it's here. Why is it below Ruby vs. Ragnar? Morally and personally, I like Ruby vs. Ragnar less, but Mikasa vs. Spider-Man is just so bad. Number 1. I wanted to do an honorable mentions, but I didn't want to put the rest of the series on this list, so I'm not doing that. At one point, I had Alucard vs. Dio here, but upon rewatching it, it wasn't that bad. Alucard vs. Spawn is bad. First off, it's 58 seconds long and not a joke battle, and 20 of those seconds is the intro and outro. There is a whole 38 seconds of animation, and pretty much nothing even happens. Spawn does a little, there's 5 seconds of this one fire, Alucard does a few attacks, throws a wolf, and then dies. Literally, Spawn just shows up behind him and shoots off his head. And Alucard falls over like this. This is the shit Huan and I would do for a cheap laugh. Not something you'd do for a serious battle. And like talking about bad representation of the characters, Alucard dies from a decapitation. Have you seen the amount of jokes people have made? This battle is so bad that Boomstick is not even there at the end to hype it up. He's just like, nah, fuck this. It's just the worst. It is awful. Ruby vs. Ragnar, at least it's well animated. Mikasa vs. Spider-Man, at least it's a full fight. Fucking Sasuke vs. Hiei, at least it's not Alucard vs. Spawn. I don't think I could go any further in explaining how bad this is. How do you talk about a battle that isn't? So that was my list of the top 15 worst DBX episodes. Now, I know one was negative, but there are some DBX episodes I like, and I am really hopeful that Season 5's good. Obviously, I'm a bit more hopeful that 1 Minute Melee Season 7's good. At the time of recording this, it has not come out yet. But, yeah, I hope it's going to be good. I know everyone was a bit annoyed when they announced that the theme of 1 Minute Melee Season 7 was going to be DBZ battles. And I was too, especially because there were a lot of remakes they said they were going to do, like Dante vs. Ragnar and Mob vs. Tatsumaki, that aren't going to be there if this is actually going to be a DBZ-themed 1 Minute Melee. But I'm at least hopeful that Red Sun Goku vs. Superman Black's going to be good.